then there were two teams left standing in the AFC as the Bengals make it among the NFL's Final Four. The Bengals are back in the AFC Championship. Feels like just yesterday they were playing Patrick Mahomes back at Arrowhead Stadium last year. But we find ourselves in this situation again, my friends, as Cincinnati looks to go to back-to-back Super Bowls for the first and only time in franchise history. Welcome into another weekly postseason preview AFC Championship edition of the Strictly Stripes podcast. Muhammad Ahmad, Andrew Gillis, Mike Nislik already back from Buffalo, like we just teleported, although that would be nice if we could do that in a perfect world. But just setting the stage, obviously, all eyes are on Patrick Mahomes and his status. Ian Rappaport from NFL Network said that Mahomes is going to play, but the question is just how much they're going to rest him and what that's going to look like during the week. You can imagine, obviously, Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes, the MVP frontrunner, they're going to have someone with him basically by his side the whole week, giving him just injections, rest, whatever it might be, as he rolled up his ankle against the Jaguars on Saturday. Before we get into his status, though, I mean, like, just seeing the way he played, almost literally on one foot, on one leg, whatever you want to call it, like, is that impressive to you, or is that really just adrenaline, like he said it was? Because he said that was just adrenaline running through his body at that point.
I mean, it's both. Like, he's the best quarterback in the league, and you have a player of that caliber playing on one leg. Like, I know I saw a lot of Bengals fans kind of get annoyed with this, where it was on Twitter, where it was like,
yeah, I did.
I can't, we're going to have to deal with the Mahomes and this and that, and they're going to have to talk about him more. Like, I understand your frustration, but, like, he's the best quarterback in the league, and he was playing on one leg, and he's, like, I understand the argument was annoying, but Patrick Mahomes at 70% is still a top quarterback in the league. Like, he's still really, really good. So, I think Lou Anarumo has a really unique challenge this week because, obviously facing Mahomes is unique in and of itself, but I think that this is unique in the way that you have to test him. I think you've seen kind of what they did in the last year and, in the AFC Championship game and the regular season game and this year where they use different guys as spies. They drop different guys into coverage. I think this year's a little bit different because I think you want to kind of, you want to basically make him show you that he can move, because if he's just going to be a sitting duck back there, then you can kind of pin your ears back. So it's going to be a really interesting week to kind of monitor his health and see how he's kind of progressing.
Well, I mean, I think that downplays the fact that he still can be an efficient pocket passer. I can think him. I mean, there's no reason why he can't be successful if he gets protection up front. If he has to stay in the pocket, I mean, obviously there's more to his game if he's able to elude those rushers. But and Andy Reid did speak to the media later in the day and said that the plan is for him to play.
Right.
Just reports. So all systems go. I think the thing to watch is if he'll practice. I guess Reid said Mahomes never not practiced then played, but the plan would be if he doesn't, he'd still play this weekend. Obviously, with the stakes being so high, so obviously it'll just be what kind of condition he is, not whether or not he's going to play. I think is just the question.
And obviously, I think what I also heard too, I think either Reid or Rappaport said this, but the injury that he had against Jacksonville was not as severe as what he sustained similarly back in 2019, which was the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and that's also the year after Mahomes won MVP. But yeah, I mean, like, Andrew, I really do understand now. Like, I always understood this, but I really see why you were so just bent on saying that Mahomes is the front runner, because I will admit, like, people can say what they want. Like, I know you mentioned what people were saying on Twitter, but I was very impressed, like, for him to just have that shot of adrenaline, to just play the way he played. And honestly, I do think the Jags shot themselves in the foot. That is another conversation. But if we're talking about just him and his play, it was impressive. It was impressive how he put himself together, kept himself composed, and played like that. And no matter what happens to the Chiefs this week, like, I don't think anyone's going to be shocked if and when Mahomes wins the MVP. And so, yeah, it is going to be a very unique situation. But, at worst case, even if he doesn't practice much, he's still going to watch film. He's still going to study up on, the Bengals defense, which I want to get into. Because you mentioned Anarumo, and, like, Eli Apple was in the locker room smoking a cigar, and as he was puffing, he said, Lou Anarumo's just a mad scientist. He's not the first person to say that. This has kind of been said multiple times amongst the Bengals players, but I don't know if mad scientist is overused or cliche. I think Anarumo definitely thinks it is. But, I mean, when we talk about it on the podcast, but to kind of follow up on just what they did to Josh Allen yesterday, it says a lot about, how much better they've gotten this year. Like Joe Burrow said after the game, we're better on the O-line. We're better in special teams. And he said we're better on defense. Sam Hubbard's playing at the best he's played in his career. Trey Hendrickson, back-to-back Pro Bowls, no shocker. And then Joseph Osai couldn't even play last year because he was injured in the preseason. He was one of the first people to nearly get to Allen on that first drive. And then it was Hendrickson. And then you had, Dax Hill, who they didn't have last year, a rookie on Dawson Knox because you didn't have Trey Flowers, who his health is going to be also monitored this week to see if he'll be healthy to play against the Chiefs. He has a hamstring injury that made him miss on Sunday, but you look at the pieces they've added or the pieces that they have that have already gotten better. I mean, you just think about what they did to Mahomes last year in Arrowhead with those set factors, and you look at how much better it is. I don't know if I want to say if it's more of a challenge for Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes has seen it all at this point. I just think it's the same challenge, but with a little bit of a twist because, Osai is kind of the guy who, sealed the game on defense for the Bengals with the hustle of a century. If you guys remember, Zach Taylor called this sack on Mahomes in the fourth quarter the hustle of the century. So you think about all those other players, and how could I forget Cam Taylor-Britt? I mean, and I want your all's take on this because he said, he was asked why are you so good against top receivers like Stephon Diggs, and he said you got to be physical because receivers don't like that because they're soft. Those are his exact words. I mean, he is not a rookie. He's definitely not a rookie at this point, guys.
He's absolutely.
He's technically a rookie.
Well,
if you want to be
anything but a rookie doesn't say that.
I think we'll have to put an asterisk next to that. Honestly, with the way he's talking, you got to put an asterisk next to that rookie title. I know, I'm reading the rules, but the point is,
I was gonna
technically,
yeah. I mean, listen,
my point was that Lou grimaced visibly when you mentioned that, and I think the point is that first and second year players tend to be more open with the media and give them those colorful quotes, and then they get veteran, talk
jaded
to, and don't try to do those things because other players use them as motivation, which the Bengals have done all season.
Right.
But I mean, he's been good. I mean, he's stood in. But I mean, in terms of what your point was, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is game planning for Joseph Osai. That I don't agree with. I'm
not saying it's him, but I think if you're Andy Reid, you got to be ready for him. You got to be at least. I mean, you have to be ready for Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. But with Osai, I would think you'd have to.
How much time, Andrew, are they spending on Joseph Osai?
I'm not saying you dedicate your whole game plan.
6 hours.
I think
under 6 hours.
You're taking this too far. I'm not saying you focus your game plan on Joseph Osai, but when you look at the fact that they use him a good bit. And he's in a lot of those formations.
I mean, you're not going to answer?
I'm sorry. I'm running off 2 hours of sleep, and it just was so funny that you said it's under.
It's under? Okay.
It's a little under. It's just a little under.
We disagree on that, but that's not even the issue.
But if you're gonna, I mean, the thing about the Bengals that we've kind of talked about all year is that there isn't, and I'm prepared for Mike to say that I'm insulting Trey Hendrickson and his ancestors, but they don't have a Aaron Donald level player on this defense. They don't have a Jalen Ramsey level player on this defense. They're just all really good at what they do.
Game planning for the scheme,
and that's what I'm saying. Players, but if you're gonna look at if you're gonna look at the pass rush individually, the three guys you're worried about right off the hop are
Reader,
Hubbard, Hendrickson, and Reader up the middle. And then obviously that there's B.J. Hill there too. Osai, I mean, he's just like a situational guy, but you're gonna need.
But you got to be ready for that.
You're gonna need different types of pass rushers.
Exactly.
In Kansas City, you're gonna need different types of blitzes, different types of looks, especially if Mahomes is hobbled, because you're gonna need to throw stuff at him. And I mean, one of the things that makes Mahomes so great is that he can get out of the pocket. I mean, I've said this before. I've watched that man in the Super Bowl throw a football 30 yards while parallel to the ground. He can do a lot of different things just physically that other quarterbacks have really never in NFL history been able to do.
Absolutely.
So you've got to throw different things at him. I think you've kind of got to make this kind of like a NASCAR pit stop on your defensive line this week. You really got to make these guys, like, you got to rotate them heavy, you got to rotate them quickly, and you got to just keep them fresh, because if you get after Mahomes and he can't really move, then you're going to be fine. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a group effort with the Bengals like it has been all year. It's not going to be, one singular guy on the defense or a position group on the defense, because it's going to take, I know it's cliche, but it's going to take all, 20 whatever players are going to play.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm not saying, just focus on CTB, focus on Joseph Osai, focus on whoever, Jermaine Pratt, but I'm just saying if you want to give praises, you can definitely look at that, especially when you look at what those guys have done against a team like the Chiefs. But, there's one thing the Bengals don't have either, Andrew, and that's a weak link. Zach Taylor has said, and I think he said it after the Buccaneers game, they haven't found that weak link on defense, and I still don't think they found it because it's just not there. There is no weak link. I think there's definitely room for improvement, like we've seen that with Dax Hill, we've seen that with Cam Taylor-Britt. I even think there's room for improvement at times for Joseph Osai, since this was his first true year, even though he was a rookie last year. But there's not that weak link, because like the fact that they don't have the Aaron Donald or the Jalen Ramsey or whatever other elite position player name you want to throw out there, that's fine, but it also helps that there's no weak link either. And I think maybe this is kind of a tangent, but like, with Lou Anarumo, and, he's been in the conversation mill, the rumor mill for like head coaching jobs. He hasn't been interviewed for a job, but, at the same time, he's not worried about that, while you could also say, hey, like, you shouldn't be shocked if he ends up being interviewed for a job like that, because, like, I mean, again, I get it's a offensively dominated league we live in, but, Zach Taylor said he doesn't envy Lou Anarumo's job because it is tough. It is very, very hard being defensive coordinator in AFC, because you got to deal with Mahomes, you got to deal with Allen. Now you look at Trevor Lawrence, like he's going to get a lot better. You got to deal with him. And the list goes on, and so it is not easy. And from a running back standpoint, you got Derrick Henry, you got Nick Chubb, just to name a few. Like, it's not easy. So it is a remarkable job, I think. Like, what Lou Anarumo's done, I don't want to be that guy that says, oh, no one's praising him, but I think you got to put him in that conversation with, like, the D'Amico Ryans and, the other top defensive coordinators in the league. I mean, you just have to. I mean,
he's getting there.
He's going to get there if he's not there already. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put him at, like, elite levels there, but he's certainly getting there. And, like, I mean, the thing that is so impressive about what Lou does is that this defense, like, there was a stat that I saw where if you take away if you take away all of the, like, some of the elite, like some of the other games that they've played, when you look at Mahomes and Allen and, like, some of the quarterbacks that they've played, in terms of, there was a statistical number that it came into, I think it was CPOE, which is completion percentage over expectation, and I believe the equivalent was they're basically turning these quarterbacks into Andy Dalton. Like, they're well, it was Mac Jones, but then if you take out Lamar, if you take
really
out the
funny.
Lamar thing in Week 5, it was Mac Jones if you include Lamar. If not, it's Andy Dalton. But either way,
that's so
funny.
funny.
We're like, you're arguing between two pretty mediocre slices of the pie there.
Or are we talking like 2022 Andy Dalton, or
yes,
like 2013
this
Andy
season?
Dalton?
Yeah, this season. So, like,
okay.
in terms of, like, what they were statistically, like, they do a really good job against elite level players. I think, I'm not saying Lou's going to get a head coaching job this year. Like, even if they,
I don't
really well
either,
against
honestly.
the Chiefs, but if you play well against the Chiefs, and then you're going to go to the Super Bowl and you're going to play either Kyle Shanahan or
Nick Sirianni.
But Kyle Shanahan or maybe the most complete team in the league in
Absolutely.
Philly, in terms of top to bottom. So, like, you're going to have really, really strong chances to kind of assert yourself here. So this is a big 2-game stretch here for Lou. But yeah, I would put him up there, not there, if that makes sense.
I see. I think that's a fair assessment, actually. And I think maybe these next 2 games will determine that, especially if the Bengals do go to Arizona and play either the Eagles or 49ers. That's going to be another good game to watch, because that actually precedes the AFC Championship on Sunday, so that'll be good to watch. But when we come back, we're going to kind of flip this and set the stage offensively after all this defense talk. But before we go to break, if you haven't already, sign up for Cincinnati Football Insider. It's $4.99 a month, but If you sign up, it's a 14-day free trial, and if you stick with it, again, it's $4.99 a month. Go to cleveland.com/Bengals. Click on the blue banner top of the page. You won't regret it. We'll be right back on the Strictly Stripes podcast. And thanks for staying with us on the Strictly Stripes podcast. So, like you said, Andrew, Lou Anarumo isn't there, but he's getting there. Brian Callahan, I think, is a little bit higher because we didn't mention this in the podcast last week, but he had an interview with the Indianapolis Colts for their head coaching vacancy that just opened up. It'd be interesting to talk to him about that and maybe kind of find out more later on what the Colts decide and if they move forward with him. But, I mean, just the fact that he's being considered for a head coaching job, I don't think it's shocking to anybody because you just look at the fact that Joe Burrow is playing at the level he's playing at. The run game picked back up after kind of seeping down a little bit, in the month of December and into the first round of the playoffs. I just think if you want to expand this, and just the fact that he came here his first year in 2019 was when they still had Andy Dalton. Joe Mixon was obviously here. Tyler Boyd was here, but they were 2-14. And people were probably looking at him and Zach Taylor like, this isn't working out. Some of those same concerns kind of came a year later when Burrow was a rookie. He gets hurt, but even before that, like, the Bengals were probably 1-9, 1-10, which isn't on him. I'm just saying that's kind of where the team was at. But to flip the switch last year and to keep the switch on this year, I think is just an absolutely remarkable job. And just the way they turned it around so quickly and with the rebuilding process, getting Jamar Chase, getting T. Higgins right after they got Joe Burrow in the draft. I mean, you think about it. The Bengals have drafted their RB1, their wide receiver 1, their wide receiver 2, and their wide receiver 3. And I mean, I have to say it, of course, they're QB1, but, I mean, they did it. And talk about Jackpot Joey. He has been a jackpot. But, I mean, just with Brian Callahan, just what do you like about his play calling? Like, what's really stood out this year to where he really could and rightfully should get a head coaching job this year?
Well, Zach calls the plays. Zach's the play caller, so I think, when you kind of look at the way – I still haven't looked at that Jamar touchdown just because it's been so quick. But, like,
I don't know. That wasn't a touchdown.
No, the first one.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. The first one where he actually was a touchdown. I don't know how he got left wide open.
It was a blown coverage.
It was a blown coverage.
It was a bad communication.
But they drove right down the field. But the second touchdown, Hayden Hurst was wide open, and I'm not sure that was a blown coverage because Hayden kind of said that was the planned play. That was what they expected to happen. So, I mean, Zach did a really nice job, but, I mean, obviously Brian's a part of those meetings as well.
Right.
He's in there game planning with Zach. He's talking to Joe. But I think the interesting thing, Mike brought up a point, a week or two ago or whenever that was, where it was kind of like, hey, like, let's say the Colts do offer him the job. Like, it's a head coaching job in the NFL. There's 32 of them.
It's worth considering.
You definitely heavily consider that, but like it's also a fact of if you leave, you're leaving Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and you're leaving this offense, and you're leaving this behind for a situation that
it's pretty bad.
I don't know. Will Levis.
Will Levis, actually.
Whatever.
I covered him, by the way.
Congrats. Same thing.
Yeah, I know. My condolences, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him, but, like, again, you're kind of talking dark.
Well, actually, hang on. Why Will Levis? Why'd you jump to him? The Colts have the number 5 pick. He's not going to be drafted that high.
They have the 4 pick. People are talking about it, like, if Stroud and Young go early, people go gaga for quarterbacks. So, like,
yeah, but I don't think they're going to go for him.
There's
got to be better quarterbacks in that field.
But if it's those two, and then Will. But yeah, like if you, but like if it's a tough situation. So like obviously you probably take that job, but I think there is a little bit of pause there because it's like it's a tough thing to leave. So it's a good room that Brian has here, and I think because of what he's done, because of what Zach has done, because of what Joe has done, because of kind of what they've all done together, it makes it so, leaving would be really, really difficult either way. He's not kind of forced into something. So he's kind of bought himself some significant leverage here, I think.
Absolutely.
Get a bump.
A pay bump?
Yeah,
he can, sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have to like start like selling out stuff for Burrow's contract.
What the Colts are doing. I mean, sometimes, having dealt with college coaches and ADs, I've been told that, I'm not sure how it compares to the NFL, but you bring a guy in to pick his brain.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
you're bringing in Callahan, maybe not. I mean, if you get blown away, you can hire him, obviously. But to see his interactions with Joe and how he's handled the quarterback, because they're going to be drafting somebody. How, what's Zach's plan for success, and you try to take some of that stuff. Not saying he's not a legitimate candidate, but I mean they're kind of going. I think it was 9 interviews they'd already done as of like.
Yeah,
Friday,
they've done.
I think so.
He
Yeah.
was the second one they had done on Friday. So I mean, they're shooting. They're looking at a lot of different guys, and Callahan is an option, and he's obviously. I think it's just every team wants to find a quarterback whisperer, and a team that's going to spend draft capital on one will certainly when you have a recommendation from Joe Burrow, I think that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah, when you have, I mean, when you look at who's left in the league, I mean, you got Mahomes, you got Burrow, you got Justin Fields. Brock Purdy's a bit of a special case because of, I think, Kyle Shanahan. But I mean, you can kind of do this every year where you look back at, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't really have anything. What
about Allen, Josh Allen?
Well, Josh Allen, I mean, I'm talking right now. But Allen was in the divisional round. Like, there are quarterbacks like that, that are, to that point, that are really good, that are losing. But I think that's a Saban special, by the way, to take people in. I think it's isn't that what he's known for? To you bring in this guy, interview.
Well, I mean, I know from experience. I've talked to ADs, and they do that.
You bring them in, and then you steal their stuff. That's what Saban does.
Or you get their one thing with colleges is recruiting strategies and how they go about recruiting. If they're teams having success. Obviously, that's not an NFL thing, but just what the plans are and how things develop.
Yeah, that absolutely. I think that happens here.
Not to get off topic, but I know since you covered college athletics, Mike, Bill O'Brien, there's been talk that he's trying to get back into the NFL. You make anything of that?
I think that he's always been looking for something else. I think he wants a head coaching job, but his connections with Belichick, but they seem to be going in a different direction. From
the
well, I mean,
boards, but
you go to the Saban School of Wayward Coaching for 2 years, and then you graduate to some OC or head coaching job. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, or even at the college level.
It'd be
Sarkisian.
it'd be interesting to see if he gets back into the NFL for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's kind of just steer back to Cincinnati and just everything this week. The thing with just that game is. And again, I don't read into this too much because we talked about it, but, Burrow has said Arrowhead is the toughest place he's played. And again, we talked about how Highmark Stadium is up there with the weather, the snow, and the crowd factor and the noise. Again, you could say the same about, Gillette Stadium being as cold as it is, but Arrowhead, first of all, have you guys been to Arrowhead? Have either of you guys been there for a game?
I've never been to Missouri.
You never been to Missouri?
No.
You're not missing much.
Why would I go to Missouri? What's in Missouri?
Kansas City. Dude, Kansas City's actually a fun city. You should be thankful you're going there. There's a lot of fun stuff to do.
Pass.
I'll
live.
You and your northeastern arrogance.
Northeastern.
Well, you're from the D.C. area, right? I consider that northeastern.
That's not north. That's mid-Atlantic, but that's
okay.
I'm not I don't think anybody's.
You and your mid-Atlantic arrogance. Okay, I'm a southern Midwestern kid, so I have more of a leaning towards it. But it is a loud place. I was at the AFC Championship last year. Now, granted, I wasn't covering it. I was actually there in a different capacity, aka I was just there for fun. But I'm not even kidding. I don't even think it was it halftime? No, it was before halftime. My ears were hurting. I was it literally feels how you go on an airplane and you go up and your ears start popping and then you go down and it unpops or whatever that feeling is. That you kind of feel a fraction of that in that stadium. It is incredibly difficult to play there. So Burrow is going to be used to this. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they're all going to be used to this. But since I mentioned Cam Taylor-Britt and his big confidence, if you're a Cam Taylor-Britt or a Joseph Osai or any other rookie or, frankly, any other player who's never played at Arrowhead, because I'm sure there's some guys with a year or two of experience who've never played at Arrowhead, that is tough. I could literally see that being I don't want to say a wake-up call. I think it'd be a rude awakening in some ways because, Cam Taylor-Britt, loved the guy, but it's going to be a different animal going against Juju Smith-Schuster in a place like that. It's going to be pretty tough. I mean, and even not just on the defensive side, offensively, like with snap count, silent count.
Well, I was
gonna be
yeah.
tricky.
That I mean, it definitely impacts the offense more. I think the offensive line is going to have a tougher test in terms of that.
Right. Yeah.
We saw Max Sharping
So
kind of.
that's what I was going to get
Max
to.
Sharping
Yeah.
kind of did the silent. He did the silent count thing where you turn back, you look at Joe, and then you put your hand forward to let Ted know that he's ready for the snap. So. That is going to be, I think, interesting. They really stayed away from penalties. Were they only 1-2 false starts yesterday?
2 false
One or
starts.
two.
I thought it was one false start.
Oh, 1 false start. One
So
holding,
yeah,
I think.
they really stayed away from the penalties. It's going to be a tougher challenge in Kansas City.
Yeah.
They're obviously hopeful that the chemistry that you built up on Sunday and the win will kind of carry over and just kind of get guys a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, it's gonna the defensive guys. They're chilling because it's going to be quiet. Like when the defense is on the field, they can communicate all they want. The offensive guys, that's where it's going to be the issue, specifically the offensive line, because like you said, Burrow's been there, Mixon's been there, the receivers have been there. They've all kind of done that, but you've got Ted Karras is a veteran; he'll be fine. But
Max Sharping, I don't know if he ever played in Kansas City.
Like
with
you've
the Texans.
got some younger guys on the
Cordell
offensive
Volson.
line, that haven't played in this type of environment. So it's going to be interesting. That's going to be the unit that is going to be affected by the noise if one is affected at all.
And ironically, like we've talked about, Hakeem Adeniji played at right guard in the last 9 games of the year, including the entire postseason. So this is nothing new to him. Like he played in the AFC Championship as a starter. So I'm sure Lyle Collins, I'd imagine at some point when he was with Dallas, they might have played at Kansas City. But even then, he's a veteran, so like Karras, he would have been fine. But yeah, Max Sharping, actually, I'm sure he played there because the Texans played the Chiefs in the divisional round, and I think he was
That would have been Sharping's rookie year.
Would have been his
in
rookie
19.
year.
That was the year they were up 24-zip.
And
then
yeah.
The final of that game was like 55-31.
Yeah,
it was
54.
like a 55-7 run or something by Kansas City.
51-24 or something.
Ridiculous.
So he would have been there, but I don't know if he actually played in that game because he was a rookie. But it's mostly going to be, I think, for Volson, Cordell Volson. I mean, that's going to be a big challenge for him because, to go from North Dakota State to that is exponentially different. But yeah, that's going to be a big test for them. But I kind of want to go back and see how many false starts or penalties they were called for in the AFC Championship last year. I know it's not a fair measure because that was a way different line, most of which is not even on the team anymore. But I want to know, I want to look this up, how many false starts have been committed by an opposing offense at Arrowhead Stadium, or what is the stadium that holds the record for most false starts? I want to see if there's a metric for that. I think we have to ask Jay Morrison that. You think you might have the answer on that, Andrew?
Well, apparently Jay's got stats. So
does he?
Well, no, that's just what he tweets.
Oh, I was going to say, did he really? If he tweeted that,
as of 2018, it was Arrowhead.
Really?
So, in terms of false starts, so.
Yeah,
but it's also
just for the 2018 season.
Yeah, that was the first result I saw.
Great.
I know.
Great
analysis.
Yeah.
Dynamite drop in,
Andrew
Lonnie.
doesn't have stats.
Yeah, dynamite drop in, Lonnie.
I have the results from 2012. It looks like.
I bet you the top 2 would be
Andrew doesn't have stats.
Seattle, and Kansas City.
Seattle definitely.
Seattle's a house of terror.
Do you have any years before that? Because those would be good.
Hang on. Let me look for 2006.
I'm trying to think. What are some other stadiums?
See, this is ridiculous though, because I pulled this up. First result, Bleacher Report thing. Second result, false starts by 2018. Fourth result, 2017. Fifth result, an article from 2010. What is Google doing?
Yeah, Google's on a weird algorithm.
I googled stadiums with most false starts. I was trying to give us an answer here, so we didn't just leave the listener waiting.
And you completely failed.
All right, well, so that's the listener's homework.
Hey, but
So that's their homework. Find out.
Your homework?
No, we're gonna make them do it.
From now on, if you get a stat wrong, we'll just say Andrew doesn't have
There you
stats,
go.
and I'm sure Jay Morrison will gladly appreciate that. But no, I do want to actually look at the context on that because that is interesting. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Arrowhead, it's a tough one. Seattle, like you said, that's a tough place. Now I don't know. Well, SoFi is it's indoors and outdoors, right? Isn't the roof retractable at SoFi?
In LA?
Yeah.
No.
That's not a loud stadium.
Oh
That's
no.
not a very loud stadium.
Well,
It is when the Rams are on
Well,
offense.
or
the Chargers are on offense.
Isn't it the biggest in the NFL now?
Yeah, but they don't. LA fans are
Yeah,
notorious. They don't support their teams.
Well,
it's all the road.
Which is funny because the Super Bowl I don't even think was half Rams fans. It was probably just as many Bengals fans who came all the way from around here to California, which is crazy. But, well, that is something. But stay tuned with us this week. We're going to find out if the Bengals have a shot to bring their fans to Arizona if the Bengals pull it off this week, as we break down all the insights. We monitor the health of Mahomes. And speaking of which, an update on Alex Kappa and Jonah Williams. Zach Taylor said they are progressing. Didn't give a definitive update, so we'll follow up on that and much, much more as we break down Burrow versus Mahomes Part 4. But once again, for myself, Andrew Gillis, and Mike Neislick, I'm Muhammad Ahmad. Stay tuned with us this week. Have a great day.